The path to taking better portraits is not about the destination. It truly is about the journey. So on this expedition or road trip, what should you arm yourself? What tools and skills should you arm yourself with on this journey to get better? In this video, I'm going to give you my slightly unconventional guide to taking better portraits. Let's get this started. Good morning and welcome back everyone. And I wrote this video to contextualize some of the more intangible ideas and processes that I use to get better at capturing humans in photographs. My goal is that by sharing this with you, you'll be able to implement some new techniques to further your craft. So with that, here are the 5 items that I believe will make you a better portrait photographer and make this journey a bit more fruitful. The first thing I want to talk about is being the engineer. And what I mean by this is truly envisioning what you want the end result to be. This idea is talked about in the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. While you can go out and shoot and get practice that way, intentional practice is far more valuable. And this is what actually creates more learning and absorption of new techniques and ideas. The intentional practice is what is demanded for real growth and eventually mastery. Start by looking your approach to a portrait session, for example. Deconstruct that and take a critical look at how you bring things together. How much critical thinking is involved in the pre-production phases. This includes collecting images for a mood board, but go even further than that. Start with a blank canvas, a piece of paper, or maybe an iPad. Draw out what your picture will look like, and then put in the lights. Where are you standing? How bright are the lights? What direction are they coming in? What modifiers are you using? What does the vibrancy look like and the color look like? Really dive deep into the final image. Envision that and work backwards from there. When you take that extra step to be the engineer and envision the final product and look to build toward that, you're developing a system for yourself. And when you have a system, you can make adjustments and tweak and change the end result. You have something to go by, this methodology, if you will, for your creative work. And it's far more easier to manage that than just shooting in the dark. And further, this detail-oriented approach is sure to impress your subject and collaborators, but more importantly, leads to more fulfillment in your work. Now, before I go to the next item, most of you watching are probably not subscribed. So if you're interested in these real-world reviews on camera products that help you make a better buying decision, or these tutorials that get right to the point, please do consider subscribing to the channel because it does make a difference and helps the growth of my channel. Now, on to the second item, and this one is being human. Yeah, you heard that right. Being human. And what I mean by this is taking time to really understand the subject in front of you. Think back at some of the most compelling portraits that you looked at. When you look at them, you see the humanity through the image. It's almost like you know the person. How do you achieve this in your photographs? There isn't one concrete way, and I'm sure there's a lot of technical prowess that's required as well, but I will say that making an effort to engage with your subject, to get to know them, and let's skip the street photography scene. Let's focus on subjects you can actually have a conversation with. Take the extra steps to know who they are. Now, this might start before you even meet them. Look at their previous work. And don't just to paint a picture about it. You don't want to go and research and already think you know the person, but better look at their previous work to think of the questions you will ask them. So when you meet the person, make an effort to approach them, introduce yourself, and what you're trying to achieve in this portrait session. And then ask them, how do they measure success? What is the best outcome for them in this portrait session? Build that shared investment in this collaboration so you both have skin in the game. And in this process, when you make this effort, you will start to see that the magic starts to come through the image. Now, if you're in a street photography session, a lot of the value is placed when the subject doesn't know, right? There's a little bit of this anonymity to images that adds to the magic. But sometimes when you want to capture that street portrait, grab the portrait, or maybe just before you do it, try to see if you can dialogue. And in doing so, you create this process for yourself where you feel the humanity of the subject and it starts to bleed into the image. So my second item is be the human. Build that dialogue and look to evoke that in your images. Scaling this across all your projects will make this a more human experience, and in doing so, a bit more tangible. And also further to this, allow you to capture with more intention. The next thing I want to talk about is layering the cake. And what I mean by this is before your next production, in that downtime, look to acquire a new skill or a technique that you can practice. Now, this doesn't mean that the entire production hinges on this new technique. It's all about just testing one new thing, that each time you go out for a photo production, that you have something new to try, to challenge yourself with, to move you outside of your comfort zone. And I talked about this in some previous videos, but finding comfort in discomfort. Are you in uncharted territory, allowing for that learning to happen? For example, when you're just getting started, you might learn about using reflectors and incorporate that into one shoot. And then after that, you might look at an off-camera flash. And then after that, you might go into multiple lights and manipulating them. And one step further, you might start incorporating gels and color. Now that one layers in a more traditional way, but it doesn't have to be like that. What I'm saying here is go and look to just learn one thing that you can practice and use at least once. Test your conventional knowledge, what you already know and are comfortable with, and see, is there something new to spark more interest? A great place to start are online courses. Lynda.com, for example, has a huge amount of free classes available. And personally, I also enjoy Creative Live, where you have a ton of experts sharing their wisdom, sharing their mistakes and their best practices that you can go out and try little by little. Making this a habit will allow you to progress with each and every production, to test yourself, to challenge yourself, and that will lead to overall better results. Oh, and I will say, while we're talking about better results, it took me years before I was comfortable to sell my prints online, but I do have a print shop available. This is something that was very important to me and something I value very much. And if you guys are interested in supporting the channel and getting some dope art for your home, check out my print shop. The link is below, and you'll find a lot of these images. I captured them, edited them, and printed them myself. Each one is signed and numbered by yours truly. So if you're interested in some new artwork and want to support the channel, you can check out that link below. Now, back to this unconventional list of mine. The fourth item I want to talk about is the amount you capture. It is tempting during your portrait sessions, especially when you're starting out, to shoot as much as you can, to just accrue as many files as possible so you can pick the perfect one. I will say, fight against that urge and look to be precise. Go back to the concept that you engineered, that you envisioned, and look to capture that as close as possible. When you feel like you got it, move on. Just move on to the next concept on your mood board or storyboard. As much as possible, chase quality over quantity. When you're shooting these portraits, yeah, vary the poses just a little bit, but when you get that feeling, when it feels like the shot you captured has all the ingredients of what you earlier envisioned, once you got that, move on. Don't look back. Don't overshoot the experience. Keep the production moving. And I will say that time is valuable. Falling under your time and resources is a great thing to have. And I'm sure some of you watching will disagree, and that's the beauty of this journey, is that there's not one trodden way to get there. There's multiple paths. For me, it is incredibly valuable to stick to the blueprint as much as possible, get the feeling. And when it hits right, be tactical, be precise, and move on. This doesn't mean you avoid spontaneity, because sometimes you'll see something or the model will do something and it will spark something inside of you to capture that. I'm not saying to fight against that, folks. All I'm saying is be as precise as possible with your shots. You don't have to sit there, take the same headshot 100 times over. Look to nail it as quickly and efficiently as possible. And when it feels right, move on. The last thing I want to talk about may be far-reaching, and listen, just hear me out. It's about routines. And it might not make sense in the micro, but in the big picture will have a profound effect on your photography and especially your portrait work. If you want to get better at your craft, whatever it may be, look at everything that you do. How do you start your morning? Are you checking your phone right away? Do you dive into your email inbox? Are you constantly looking at the analytics of the last piece of content you shared? If this is how you're starting your day, well, you might be on the defensive and not really putting yourself in a position for success. We constantly throw our brains in a defensive positions with all these small decisions we make on a daily basis. And in many instances, we don't give ourselves a fighting chance to really further our craft. And for me, a lot of these weaknesses were exacerbated during the COVID-19 lockdown and quarantine. It was difficult to be creative when all our habits are working against us. So if you're asking yourself, such as I asked myself, how can I get my work better? I will say, what is your daily routine? How do you start your day especially? For me, the answer was a list of simple yet powerful adjustments. Waking up earlier than I had to, making sure my phone was in a different room before I started, practicing daily meditation, starting with just one measly minute and now moving to 15-minute sessions before I tackle the day, and then moving to my journal and just writing out one page. And this doesn't make sense. It's just literally a stream of consciousness that I'm dumping out of my brain onto this page. From there, again, I'm not going to start my day yet. I'm focusing on me. I move to reading one chapter of a book, just one chapter. And once that's complete, I move to the task management app that I use to look at what is my day gonna be and what do I want to achieve. Then and only then, after about 2 hours, do I go in and tackle what needs to be done. And for the large part of that morning, I'm not looking at my phone. I try to keep that away as much as possible. It sounds crazy. It sounds unconventional. And well, I told you that with the title. But this is about setting ourselves up for success. If we really want to get better at portraiture, at your craft, at whatever it may be, every single day, are you dedicating those resources, that valuable attention and energy to move that needle further each and every time? Now you might be wondering, what the f does this have to do with taking better portraits? Everything. These small adjustments have allowed me to be in a better position to further my craft, to start my day, and ultimately work toward getting better at what I do. And instead of starting my day with emails, comments, notifications, and what the world wants me to think, no. I start on the offensive. I am in control. I'm dictating how to begin my day and where I direct my attention, and ultimately moving myself forward. If you want to get serious about changing your habits, I will say there's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it contextualizes a lot around why we do the things we do and how to change it or empower the good habits that we have. And here's the thing, it's not easy. It does take time. I mean, for me to unplug the PS4 and hide the controllers for myself so I don't sneak in a few more hours of Call of Duty Warzone, it wasn't easy to do, but it comes back to what is important to you. How important is your craft to you? Are you willing to put it above everything else? And more importantly, what are you prepared to do for it? You know the answers. If you ask yourself critically, you know what to do. So the real question is, are you prepared to do it? And there you have it, everyone. That's my unconventional list to taking better portraits. More importantly, I'd love to hear what you think. What are some unconventional things that you did to get better at your craft? Let me know in the comments below and let's continue the conversation there. As always, my name is Gajan. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.